नेहा।
Namaste, salam, sat shri akal, vadakkam, khushamadid to all of you. Thank you for joining us today once again. And for all you early joiners, we have an AV about Udayan Care. So let's watch the video and see how Udayan Care is working towards turning dreams into reality.
I became an independent lady due to just this program.
Belonging to a family where finances was always an issue, and now working as a financial planning specialist for the US.
There is no sound in the video. There is no sound in the video. Can we replay that? Okay, so as video is coming again, yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
I became an independent lady due to just this program.
Belonging to a family where finances was always an issue, and now working as a financial planning specialist for the US people, it really makes me feel so proud of myself.
This fellowship is given to you because the objective is to translate into a Shalini woman. At this point of time in the life, you are receiving it, but later you are supposed to give it back to those who are less fortunate than you.
यहाँ पे आके लगता है कि हाँ हम कुछ बन सकते हैं। पहले इतना मतलब अपने ऊपर कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं था, जो अब बहुत डेवलप हो गया है।
मैं इतना तो कमा लूँगी कि मैं अपना इनफैक्ट मैं अपना एक घर बना लूँगी।
When I look back in retrospection, it looks amazing, you know. And if you remove Udayan Shalini, there's nothing left in my life.
Being a girl, I really wish कि मेरी जैसे जितनी भी गर्ल्स हैं जो उड़ना चाहती हैं, really उड़ना चाहती हैं, they just need wings.
Hello and welcome back, friends. I'm sure you have enjoyed this video. We'll begin our program in next 2 minutes. In the meantime, let me play the video once again for those who have just joined.
I became an independent lady due to just this program.
Belonging to a family where finances was always an issue, and now working as a financial planning specialist for the US people, it really makes me feel so proud of myself.
This fellowship is given to you because the objective is to translate into a Shalini woman. At this point of time in the life, you are receiving it, but later you are supposed to give it back to those who are less fortunate than you.
यहाँ पे आके लगता है कि हाँ हम कुछ बन सकते हैं। पहले इतना मतलब अपने ऊपर कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं था, जो अब बहुत डेवलप हो गया है।
इतना तो कमा लूँगी कि मैं अपना इनफैक्ट मैं अपना एक घर बना लूँगी.
When I look back in retrospection, it looks amazing, you know, and if you remove Udayan Shalini, there's nothing left in my life.
Being a girl, I really wish कि मेरी जैसे जितनी भी girls हैं जो उड़ना चाहती हैं, really उड़ना चाहती हैं, they just need wings.
Welcome back, friends. Hello and welcome again. I, Smita Verma, a proud Shalini, from the batch when USF program started. That was year 2002, the first batch. And my friend Neha Siddiqui from 2010 batch. We welcome you to celebrate the 27th anniversary of Udayan Care and second summit of Celebrating Change. We welcome our dear panel speakers, Ms. Anuranjita Kumar, Ms. Archana Chandra, Ms. Nija Malik, and Ms. Sudha Menon. We welcome our 200 Shalinis who have joined us on Zoom. We also welcome our other Shalini alumni across the globe, our donors, committee members, volunteers who are watching us live on YouTube. 2 years back, in 2019, we celebrated our 25th anniversary, where 125 Shalinis traveled from 21 chapters across India to Delhi. And they witnessed the impact that this program has created over the years. It was a wonderful opportunity for our Shalinis to make new friends. They also met some of the accomplished Shalinis and eminent speakers from various fields. That time, we decided that we would take it forward every 2 years. And now, today, we are here to celebrate the second summit of Celebrating Change on the theme, Be Authentic, Be You. Friends, we started our second summit yesterday. We started it where our founder, Dr. Kiran Modiji, welcomed our speakers and guests with her lovely address. She shared the objective and vision behind this beautiful program. We had fireside chat with Dia Mirza, who shared a beautiful concept of finding the meaning of you in the tagline, Be Authentic and Be You, and how by finding our own unique meaning of this you, we can live more honestly and more authentically. We also had pleasure of having and listening our keynote speaker, Ms. Raga De Silva, who shared her courageous journey of coming out and breaking out the social stigma. She shared how to live a bold and not try and fit into something that doesn't define us, and to accept and respect ourselves. Yesterday, we concluded our event with 10 breakout sessions where our 200 Shalinis interacted with 10 very eminent and leading women leaders in the group of 20 each. We streamed live on YouTube one of the sessions with our speaker, Ms. Preeti Rache Gupta. Our girls thoroughly enjoyed every session, and our speakers also overwhelmed us with their love and support. Since yesterday, we have been receiving many appreciations and thank you messages from our speakers and Shalinis. Our YouTube viewers, I would like to remind you that we are uploading our breakout session or recordings on our channel in next few hours. So please subscribe our channel and don't miss out on any of these exciting and insightful sessions. Now, I would like to call upon Neha.
Thank you so much, Smita. Thanks a lot for giving a recap of yesterday. So to take the event forward, I would now request Dr. Kiran Modiji to share a few words and thoughts with us. Dr. Kiran Modiji is the founder and chairperson of Udayan Care. We lovingly call her Bua. With a doctorate in American literature from IIT Delhi, Dr. Kiran Modiji is a person of varied experience in several fields, including media and children theatre, and has also been a founding member of several trusts. Working for disadvantaged, she had previously launched Delhi's first community tabloid Neighborhood Star in 1984 and ran it about 12 years. Dr. Kiran Modiji founded Udayan Care in 1994, a trust for disadvantaged children and women, with the flagship being alternative care and family strengthening approach. Let's welcome Dr. Kiran Modiji. Our YouTube viewers, please show your love by hitting like button and share your comments in the comment section. We welcome you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Our brilliant MCs, Smita and Neha, both ex-Shalinis and super achievers. Today is the second day of the biannual summit celebrating change, with theme being Be Authentic, Be You. I must begin with welcoming our eminent panel consisting of Archana Chandra, CEO, Jai Vakil Foundation, Arunjita Kumar, founder and CEO, WIT ACE, Nija Malik, cancer counselor, author, inspirational speaker. This excellent panel will be moderated by none other than Sudha Menon, author, actor, and founder of Great Writing Workshop. Our Shalinis are warmly welcomed, 200 of them on the Zoom webinar and the rest on YouTube. I also welcome our donors, members, volunteers, and staff across India who have so painstakingly put the program together. Justice Leela said, we all know that women are half the world and hold up half the sky. But where are they when it comes to equality? When we look at the gender bias prevalent in society at every level, we realize how throughout history, women have been battling against patriarchy and a predominantly misogynistic society. Women have banded together to fight for their right to vote, combat discrimination, disband rape culture and portrayal in the media, gain positions in corporate, politics, and STEM fields. International Women's Day stands testimony to the fact that women are today demanding equality in every sphere and an enabling environment where they can express themselves freely and shape their own destiny by being their true self, the theme of the Celebrating Change Summit, Be Authentic, Be You. Before I hand over the mic to our distinguished panelist and moderator, I would be happy to recount for them what has happened in the previous day. Our theme of being authentic is being delivered in 2 conference sessions, yesterday and today. Yesterday, the theme was angled from different lenses by diversified speakers who have actualized themselves and broken the glass ceiling in many contexts, and who, despite their hugely busy schedule, were present with us to stimulate our Shalinis to do the same by realizing their own being, inner being. Our Shalinis heard and participated in discussions and deliberations on many empowering topics, such as being honest to oneself, what constitutes responsibility, resiliency, breaking the mold, and living up to authenticity, emerging career opportunities in the changing face of higher education and the digital world, accessing non-traditional options, financial management, how to fight, how to choose and fight their own battles wisely, how to be heard in the cacophony of multiple voices, and how to balance work life and personal life, self-awareness, breaking gender stereotypes, gender equality, and gender biases, etc. Today is again rich with a thought-provoking panel discussion by achievers in different fields, as wide as disability, technology, overcoming one's own issues, and counseling. The panel discussion shall be followed by an introduction to Shalini Talk, a unique talk format developed and delivered by our super Shalinis themselves. Then at the end of the day, a special session on the evolution of an action plan by Shalinis themselves. All these are geared towards developing leadership skills and self-awareness in them. Following were some of the questions which were raised yesterday, and I think which will hold good even today. How do we expand our own horizons to realize our own inner being, whether through higher education and taking up high-profile, newly emerging careers and entrepreneurships, or even through new, previously undefined, non-traditional ways of defining the self? Another question, the role of career and balance it. How do you balance it with harmony, creativity, imagination, and innovation? Finally, how do you develop self-connectedness? How do caste, class, disabilities, and gender posit hindrances in communications and self-realization in the face of a digital world? And how can these be countered? I think another very important question that emerged was, how can we leverage our intrinsic abilities towards self-empowerment? Yesterday's and today's discussions, which will follow, may not be able to answer many questions, but will definitely arouse many in the minds of our young, vibrant audience. Hope some more answers will come out today. Many confusions may get sorted while giving birth to more, but this is the joy, ever questioning, ever reflecting. I cannot but thank the organizing committee comprising of Pooja Mehra, Ita Baijul, Deepti Shah, Manisha Sangwani, Shivani Devecha, Sudha Bajaj, Sapna Pathak, Smita Verma, Neha Siddiqui, Mohammad Fahim Khan, Deepti Kucheta, Madhu Parki, as well as a score of others managing it behind the scenes. Lastly, I must thank all our conveners, staff, mentors, and volunteers across the 21 chapters spread across India who helped us in every which way to select the girls for participation, their preparation, contributing to developing the program, and then the final execution yesterday and today. Wishing all of us a great day of learning. Over to our MCs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot. So it's time to move our much awaited session of the day, that is our panel discussion. But before that, I would like to tell our YouTube viewers that they can also ask questions through the chat and the comment box. So please put your questions in the comment box so that we will ask those questions in the Q&A session with our panelists. So to introduce the panel session, our first panelist is Anuranjita Kumar. She's an accomplished human resource professional, author, investor, philanthropist, and now empowering women in STEM to realize their true potential. Anuranjita Kumar, founder of Women in Technology Forum, wears many hats. Besides nurturing her platform, Women in Technology, she also spends a considerable time coaching senior executive and startup leaders around the world. Anuranjita's book, Can I Have It All, perhaps exemplifies that she has achieved so far in her career. She served in senior human resource roles in Asia, North America, and Europe. She chairs the board of American India Foundation and is a director of the board of Plaksha University, which is a new age modern thinking tech university geared towards future tech learning. She is also an advisory board member of SHRM India. Anuranjita has also been recognized and featured on the Economic Times Women Ahead List 2018. We welcome you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us today. We welcome. So our next panelist in the row is Archana Chandra. Archana Chandra has charted a commendable professional journey from the corporate sector to social development space. Currently, she is an CEO and board member of Jai Vakil Foundation and Research Center, India's largest and oldest non-profit working in space of intellectual and development disabilities. She serves as the trustee of Society for Rehabilitation of Crippled Children, SRCC, which is in collaboration with Narayan Health, has built one of the largest pediatric hospitals in the country. As member of advisory board of Anamrita, which is part of the ISKCON Food Relief Foundation, She helps to govern one of the large NGO in the country that serves midday meal to under-resourced children. Additionally, she serves the advisory board of Antarang Foundation, which works to build self-reliance in at-risk youth. We welcome you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us today. For introducing next speaker, over to you, Smita.
Thanks, Neha. Today we have privilege of having Ms. Nija Malik with us. Being born in a very caring and a supportive family, calls herself a cancer conqueror, not a survivor. For the last 22 years, she has been counseling patients and their family members with passion and dedication, touching innumerable lives and infusing each heart with hope and strength. She prides herself on being available unconditionally to all who needs her 24/7. She is also a TEDx and inspirational speaker and has authored a book titled I Inspire, which narrates how she has overcome the adversities in her life with grit and enduring grace. She has conquered not only cancer, but life as well, with courage, joy, and positivity, and passes on her intense belief and faith in God to all of humanity. She has received many awards and has written countless articles and many videos, including Women Icon, Nija Malik, Cancer Conqueror and Counselor, and many TEDx talks. I'm sure, ma'am, our Shalinis will be benefited from your talk and learn resilience. We welcome you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. Our next speaker cum facilitator is none other than Sudha Menon. She is an author and a writing coach. After 20 years as a journalist at The Independent, The Hindu, Business Line, and Mint, she finally decided to follow her other dream of authoring a book. Her first book, Leading Ladies, Women Who Inspire India, on the inspiring journeys of some of the country's most admired and accomplished women. Today, she is the author of 5 non-fiction books. Sudha is a motivational speaker and also founded Writing with Women, also known as WWW, which gets women from different backgrounds together to share their experiences and write about them. Apart from this, she has also founded many other writing initiatives, and in the due time, we'll get to know that. Ma'am, we are very grateful and we are very lucky to have you here. We present to you Ms. Sudha Menon. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much for all the introductions, and I'm really honored and privileged to be here today to talk to all of these wonderful women, all of them change makers as I say it, and women who have the inherent ability to motivate and inspire others to follow on the paths that they have walked on. And thanks for inviting me here, because I do think what you're doing on Udayan is something of great value and great significance. And yes, Kiran mentioned that women hold up half the sky, and Kiran, I absolutely agree. I think we carry more than half the sky. We're much more than half the sky. And so thanks for putting this together. I think this is a platform of such significance and relevance, because women's stories are not often enough heard, and we need to hear those voices and celebrate those voices so that others who follow after us can be inspired and motivated. So thanks for having me over. And I'm not sure how this was supposed to be, but I would like to right away open this panel to start this discussion. And can we start with Anuranjita? And is she here? I'm not seeing Anuranjita here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Anuranjita. So yeah, so almost the first question that I would want to ask all of you here is that we all begin with a dream in our heart, and whatever be the nature of that dream, small, big, huge, immense, but there is a dream that every person has. And I want to know, what was that dream when you started out? And this question is for all of you. Maybe we start with you, Anuranjita, at this point. What was that dream, and how did you go about making it? How did that dream pan out in your adult life? And then we'll take it from there.
Wow, I think that's a question I can spend hours on, but try to be brief because I also want to hear what is Archana and Nija's dream as well. So for me, Sudha, I come from a small town, and I saw a lot of girls from Haridwar and Dehradun. So I actually come from Rishikesh. My parents were doctors with the government. And so, we were put into boarding very early. So we went to study in Dehradun in a boarding school. And I worked, I mean, I grew up with a mother who was working 24/7, and I saw her working very hard. So I think initially my dream was that it was more about making an impact and being liberated in some way, because I used to always see my mother. She's a gynecologist, chahe din ho, chahe raat ho, she was always running into kabhi delivery ho raha hai, kabhi kuch ho raha hai. And I was like, I certainly don't want to lead this life. And I'm going to be a little long-winded, so just be a little patient with me. So my dream was, I need to make a difference. I want to have an impact. But as a kid, I was completely confused what that means. And so for me at that point of time, making an impact was getting into a good college. When I got into a good college, it was about getting into a good job. When it was about a good job, it was like, can I be a CEO of a company? When I became a CEO of a company, I realized actually all I want to do is make an impact. So I went back to what I wanted to do in my childhood, right? So I think we all chase dreams. And what I've realized that now after 28 years of working, if I was to look back, there are milestones in our dream. But the dream is a very lofty thing which you chase. Like, I want to clearly have an impact, a legacy, and very fondly remembered. It is important for me. And now the form and the shape of it has kind of taken shape through my work experiences. So my mother, she comes from a Hindi medium school, and her dream was कि मेरी दोनों बेटियां English medium school में जाएंगी. Because I remember her telling me this, that when she went to medical college, and she said the first time I went to medical college, I came out of a lecture crying because मुझे तो बिल्कुल समझ ही नहीं आया कि बोला क्या प्रोफेसर ने. And so she went to her dad, she self-taught herself English, and she graduated and became a doctor. And so it was like very important for her that both of us went to public school. So we both went to Wellams, and our Hindi is not as good as hers, but our English is probably better than hers. But that was her dream, that her daughters need to be independent. And she infused that in us very, very early in our life. And so I think that dream has played out to me. And one little secret, so she always dreamt that one of her daughters, I'm the older one, becomes a doctor. Doctor ka beta doctor and engineer ka beta engineer type of philosophy. Indian parents, middle class. So me being the older one was saddled with saying, okay, tumko to medical exam zaruri hai lena. So I took my medical exam. In year 12, you're like a robot. Ki acha, mom, dad ne bola, theek hi bola hoga. So I went to my medical exam not knowing what I was signing up for. And as my bad luck, I even passed the exam. And that too to the same medical college which she went to, right? And 6 months into that medical college, I knew it wasn't my calling, right? And now you can imagine a World War III at home when I came back and saying, "Mujhe medical nahi karna." Now in her head, ki kaun chhodta hai medical seat? And I was like, "Main chhodti hu, I will be the first type of thing." And she said, "Well, that's not the kind of first I want to have." And then I kind of pushed my way, went and did psychology, then did my MBA, and then joined Procter and Gamble and Citibank and all of that. But so my dream has always been impact. And I think after 26 years of my banking career, so I worked with Citibank, then with RBS, and I realized that in my corporate life, I was chasing a lot of security. Security could be translated into, big fancy titles, money, lifestyle. But the satisfaction of creating the impact and legacy wasn't coming. When you work with big places, what happens is you have to have a navigation, and you have to know how do you kind of work around that impact. So I felt very constrained, which is why just before COVID, my timing was wonderful. So in Jan of 2020, I decided to just say, okay, well, I'm going to just set this up on my own. And that's how Women in Technology was born. And I'm glad I've had immense amount of support. And where there is a huge will, destiny kind of makes things happen. So even though COVID hit, we pivoted really, really fast. I was in a space where women were hit hard during COVID, and I was in STEM. So guess what? The STEM industries were buoyant, and I was helping a lot of women coming back to employment. So my dream was impact and legacy, and I think at this point of time, I'm in the right place for a change at the right time.
Lovely. Thanks for sharing that. And we'll come back to what you're doing in the next round of questions, maybe. But Archana, can we go with you now?
Sure, that was a great answer, Anu. I think mera bhi kuch aisa hi hai. I think the good news with dreams, Sudha, are they keep moving, they keep evolving, right? So I too, as a child, had a dream ke bhai, my dad used to work with a multinational, and in those days, being the head of a multinational was a really big thing. So unko dekh ke, my dream was also, I'm going to grow big and I'm going to head a multinational. And he was in the pharma industry. He was one of the first Indians to become the head of Synamed India Limited, and all the perks that go with it and all. So hamara dream bhi wahi tha. So long story short, at I did not become a chartered accountant, which was my father's dream for me. I also got into the institute very similar to Anu's story. After 6 months of doing that, I said, not happening, cannot do this. Finance and me, numbers are not speaking to me. There's got to be something else that speaks to me. So left it, much to my father and mother's dismay. हमारे घर में तो हुआ था World War III, but left it, and in a moment of pure kya karun, how to not show up at the chartered accountant's office next morning. I still remember एक newspaper में ad आया था from Bennett Coleman and Company. So me and my two friends just showed up for an interview. Those were fun days. We just showed up at places and we got the job. So the next thing I knew is I was working for Bennett Coleman and Company in Femina and Filmfare. 1992 was the year that Aishwarya Rai and Sushmita Sen won Miss World and Miss Universe. We were behaving like humne jeeta hai crown. Fun years. We learned a lot. So like I said, the dream, the goal suddenly looked very different. It changed. For a couple of years, I went with the flow. I also got married very young. I got married actually at 22. And so there was that whole flux of marriage, career, wo bechara chartered accountant kidhar gir raha tha. So a lot of flux in my 20s. Settled down at some point in the career. Then again, a lot of flux in my personal life. Around 2000, I'm an only child. My dad was diagnosed with cancer and we lost him in a month. The company I was then working for was again an international company, got bought over in the US, and in India they wound down. My husband and I were trying for a family. I had 2 miscarriages and 1 stillborn baby, all back to back in 3 months, in 3 years. So suddenly life was not making any sense. All those dreams and career plans, kuch matlab nahi rakh raha tha, nothing was making any sense. So I had a huge change in this big dream. And I actually met a friend who was working in the social sector. And that's how I learned and understood about working in this space. And I spent 2 years at Akansha. And then another dear friend, actually at a dinner, was talking to me about Jai Vakil. Today as I'm having this conversation, I cannot even believe that I'm talking to 200 odd people as a CEO of Jai Vakil. Right? Because I remember at that dinner, this really dear friend was telling me, you know, Jai Vakil is the oldest and largest institute in the country. It's older than India's independence. And we work with children with intellectual disability. And ye karte hain, and you have to come and see. And while I was politely nodding, in my head, I was petrified. I said, ye intellectual disability, hota kya hai? What does this even really mean? What am I going to go and say to these children? How am I going to interact with them? Right? And whatever, long story short, next week, I showed up at Jai Vakil, met these beautiful, beautiful children with the most amazing smiles, unconditional love, and I learned what intellectual disability is. I learned it's an IQ-based condition where if normal IQ is 100, all my kids here have an IQ of 70 and below, some as low as 20 and below, which basically means their ability to understand is less, and no surgery or any medication can cure it or fix it. But you have to learn how to manage it and be as independent as possible. I stayed. I came here in about 2008. I learned all that I know from the founder, from Mrs. Shroff, who was part of the founding family. She passed away in 2013, and I became, you know, in the leadership position. Now, who would have thought this person who's not even from the founding family, right? So to speak, an outsider, is going to be in a leadership position today, running an organization of 250 plus people, over 700 children across 3 locations, and talking to all of you about it. So I think the point here, Sudha, would be that dreams change. Have a dream by all means, but allow yourself to go with the flow. And in that, I think, allow yourself to be constantly pushed out of your comfort zones, because that's the only way growth happens. Long answer, but
no, I think there are all these young women listening to this, and I really think that it is important for them to listen to these things, you know, stories of, this is what I did my entire life, Archana. I just been a chronicler of women's voices. And I think that came to me naturally because I was like the shyest individual I ever knew. I was like I was a painfully reclusive child. And if anybody from that part of my life were to see me now, they wouldn't believe it's the same Sudha. I was that kind of shy, like no friends, no voice. And the shyer I became, the more reclusive I became, the more I retreated into the pages of various books. You know, my father had a home full of books for us. And I just read those books and retreated into those. Every time life gave me a hard knock, I read one more book, you know, and the more I read, the more I had this dream that, you know, it was a very audacious dream for somebody who had no voice and no words. You know, all I had were the words in those books. But, you know, I slowly started dreaming that one day there would be a book with my picture and my name on the cover. And then, you know, it just happened. Like at 21, I became a journalist. And at 54, I've had 25 years of journalism and 6 books to my name. And so, and I think it is because I had so little voice when I was a child that I developed that kind of empathy for women and their, you know, unconscious. I didn't know that I was doing it, but I think somewhere at a subconscious level, I was drawn to the voices of women, you know, the silent, unspoken things that they carry that nobody knows. And I started writing about women, and I started writing about people whose voices we don't hear, like the organization that you represent, you know, 700 children whose voices would never be heard if you were not to tell those stories. And so I do think that women's voices and the voices of people who are marginalized should be heard. And that's why organizations such as yours and Udayan and all of this are significant things, you know, where we get to talk. And Anuranjita is now representing an organization where women are marginalized, and she plans to bring those women and give them a platform. So yes, all of us are doing our bit, and I'm so glad the young women who are tuned into this are getting to hear those voices. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Neeraja, I'm really keen to hear your story, your dream.
Oh boy. Okay, so, Maggie sauce used to be called I'm different. I mean, I've heard these wonderful stories and dreams, and I kind of find, hey, what did I dream about? But Sudha, I didn't dream. I lived, if you get to understand what I'm saying. So my dad was in the Indian Navy, Aryan, captain, and my mom, she started teaching the deaf and the dumb, what we now call the hearing impaired, the speech impaired. So I was born on the dining table at home, and I love to eat. And when my mother scolds me at 91, she scolds the 66-year-old and says, "Enna na kha, don't eat so much." And I said, "Who told you to give me birth on a dining table in Srinagar?" So I was conceived in Kunur, little realizing that state would call me back. And I've been living there since 1986. I was born in Srinagar, little realizing that my heart is torn apart between the north and the south. And then I realized, no, there are bits of me all over the world. And this realization dawned. See, my parents were God-loving. See the difference between God-loving and God-fearing. So by sheer osmosis, that love of God, that love of people, that love, just love, came into me, and I felt fulfilled. So as a little child, KG, nursery in Srinagar, the gardener had made a little hole in the hedge so that when the bell rang in Presentation Convent, I would run in to school because we were across the road. And certain things start happening without you realizing, but they become the authentic you. So as a little kid, the teachers would make me in charge of the new children. I don't know how it came about. And I would tell the mothers, "Auntie ji, koi baat nahi. Main hu na. I will take care of, thoda roegi, theek ho jayegi. Thoda roega, theek ho jayega." So from that time onwards, I've had a shoulder that people took automatically to when they needed to confide in me. And it just happened. It just kept happening through school, through college. And coincidentally, I did my graduation in social work at Nirmala Niketan, which has the other section of Institute of Social Sciences. Now, my Masi did her diploma. I did my graduation. Her daughter did her master's. I also did my B.Ed. I was working in schools as a social worker and a teacher in GD Somani, 4th standard class teacher. But God said, pakdo isko. She's a very friendly person. Everyone loves her. She loves everybody. Now, let us give her some knocks. Let us give her some learning lessons in the university of life. So I got married. I had innumerable miscarriages. So I can very well resonate with what Archana said. I had a stillborn in the 8th month. Then I was rushed to the hospital when I was pregnant. My BP was 270 by 140. I was in Elizabeth Nursing Home. My twins were expected. They were expected on the 9th of September, 1990. And I went into labor in the nursing home, having lived there for a month, on the 5th of July. So I was rushed to Breach Candy. They opened me up. They yanked the twins out. They were put into 2 incubators. One stopped working. Both were put into one. Rushed to Jaslok because Breach Candy didn't have a neonatal clinic. And so this is it. Life kept coming and I kept living. But what were the lessons, or what were my treasures to tackle all these things that came my way? First was love. Love keeps you going. And I was very lucky to have the love of my family, my friends, God, Guru, call it what you will. I mean, there's always been a tidal wave of love. Now imagine I'm sitting here and I can feel 200 hearts plus all of us vibrating, beating with love. और क्या चाहिए हमको? Look at the way Kiran has planned this entire thing since 1994. And how have we come here? We've just gotten attracted to it because it resonates with each four of us in some way or the other. So I believe a lot, not in coincidences, but being drawn to those paths that are already writ, and you travel them. You have a choice, happily, unhappily. So I will just take a few seconds to tell you what my treasures are. Love. Then fun and laughter. So if there's a tree, I will jump onto it. I will climb it. There's water, I'll jump into it. I mean, action, love, laughter. Kutte hai, I'll start playing with, and everyone, Nini, they will bite you. No, I'm a free spirit. And what my parents did best of all, what everyone did best of all, was not to tie me down. So I have stage managed to play with Alec Padamsi, Man of La Mancha. I have joined journalism school. I mean, I've done just about everything. I've learned how to ride a scooter at the age of 10 with my uncle holding the seat and running behind me like he would a cycle. And then thankfully the Band in Srinagar was there. So I didn't know how to, and he got left behind. So there I am. And the scooter goes up the Band. And then because there's no oil, I come down. So I've had experiences, no dreams, but living the dreams. You talk about dream the impossible dream. I've never had to dream because everything is happening continuously. So after all these mishaps, I was married at 24. My twins were born when I was 36. And I became, see, what I believe is whatever you do, and children, this is for you. Whatever you do, do it with a passion, or don't do it. I'm a lazy bum. I mean, I am who I am. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. You know what I'll do after this?
Nija.
Too much.
Yes, not too much, but because there are...
We have a shortage of time. Okay, so I will just...
We'll come back to it later.
Right,
but
right.
I do think that we must...
Sudha, you have done the right thing because I can carry on for hours.
My apologies.
Not at all. Please, I'm so glad.
We will come back to you.
So glad.
I am carrying the responsibility of moderating this. Otherwise, Archana and Anuranjita are going to go away silently. So I'm going to come back to you. Thank you so much for sharing.
And Archana is in Bombay. She might even murder me.
We were enthralled. We were enthralled.
Yes. So, Archana, I would like to continue with what Nirja was doing, talk about the things that, that kept her going. So, I would like to talk to you today about, like you said, that out of the blue, one day you made that giant step from corporate world to the world of, NGOs and a space which you completely were a stranger to. You no familiarity at all with it. So I want to know, and we are all seeing the difference that you're making with Jai Vakil. I've been following it so closely, your various programs that you're doing to bring the condition of intellectually challenged children to the world, making them aware and then including them in our life. So as you walk on this new journey, like completely uncharted waters for you, isn't it? I want to know, what are the things that keep you going? What are those best practices? What are the values? What are the changes in your behavior or the way you lived your life? What are those things that you adopted for yourself to make this journey happen for you? What are those transformative, defining moments and things that you do?
So I think one of the things, Sudha and Nija mentioned it when she was talking about what is important in our lives is, मेरे साथ जब ये सारी चीजें हो रही थी, there was a moment or a period in my life where I was also subject to this, why me, right? What is going on? Why is all of this happening to me? And I think in hindsight, because everything happened together, that's when you realize कि भाई, my job, see, you kind of, unfortunately or fortunately, you tend to put your identity to your job, the finances, the designation. So when all of that goes away suddenly and you hit
Just
what
you are
you
left.
do, yeah, and you say, then why me, right? What have I done wrong? मैंने किसी का क्या बिगाड़ा है? ये मेरे साथ ही क्यों हो रहा है? So then you say, what is the purpose of my life? What am I solving for? What am I doing all of this for? So that's actually when in my life, I came across the spiritual school that I currently follow. And that is Pranic Healing. So I met my guru. And I think that anchored me both internally and externally. Right? Ye jo law of karma, as Indians, we have grown up with, and we understand it to be, as you sow, so you reap. Ya jaise karni, vaise bharni. Unfortunately, we look at it as a very fatalistic law, right? मैं क्या करूँ? ये तो मेरे साथ होना ही था. ये तो मेरा karma है. But we look at it very fatalistically. So, thanks to Pranic Healing, I understood why and how certain things happen to you. And not just that, how do you view it? You view it all as a learning and a growth opportunity. Again, like Nija said, nothing is coincidental. If you're not shaken out of your comfort zone, you will go through life not learning any lessons. Yeah, not learning any lessons, not pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and then no growth will happen. So how do you view every difficulty that you see as an opportunity to learn, as an opportunity to grow? And the minute you get that lens on, I think your whole landscape changes. So I think Pranic Healing grounded me internally, externally. It removed this why me factor. Of course, all the practices of meditation, healing, emotionally, physically, mentally, I needed them. I still do them. Honestly, they are what I am today is nothing but a product of that, right? So this whole the virtues that we have in terms of loving kindness, not just to others but also to yourself, all of that comes from that school. And what that translated for me at Jaivakil was when I saw these kids and I realized I had spent so many years of my life not knowing they exist. So while my heart was engaged when I saw these lovely kids, when I went back, because that's how we're trained, right? And I looked at data. I said, data kya bolta hai? I said, data was telling me that 2% of our population has intellectual disability. So that loosely translated, 2% means 1 in 50. And I was like, how can I have not seen any of these children in any of these malls, theaters, weddings, any public space that I go to? So then in my head, I was like, if I have to spend my time, effort, energy, and resources somewhere, I'm happy to do it in a space that so needs some spotlight shining on it. So that's how I stayed. And then again, everything that we did at Jaivakil, because honestly, it was not easy, right? We all know moving in an organization which has been founder-led, or transitioning in an organization which has been founder-led to making it professionally run, has its challenges, right? So that whole transition journey was not easy. But I think we did it with that whole lens of putting the child and the family at the front and center of everything that we did. So if any change had to be made, the time was taken, but the lens was that the child and the parent is at the front and center of everything that we did. So we had like a laboratory on our campus, right? And we were like, it doesn't make any sense to continue this laboratory now. So we will wind down. We decided what were our core competencies. Anything that was not core was wound down. But whatever we wound down, we partnered with people for whom it was core. But all the staff, we gave them an option to stay. So Chetna, one of our employees who used to head the lab, we offered her to stay, and she said, happy to stay. Or we said, we'll find you, an alternative place with any laboratory that has come up today, because the landscape had changed. And she said, no, I want to stay. So the whole nurturing, mentoring, training program kicked in, and she heads our whole admin department today. So the lens was caring for the people. Empathy was at the center of everything that we did. And that's how we brought in all the changes that we did. Even when we do fundraising, because fundraising was our biggest challenge then, right?
That must have been a huge change for you, from money by corporates to actually putting on, it's somebody once, I think Seva's Ilaben once told me that actually I have a hat in my hand and I am
absolutely.
Like, yeah. She says she says if you're doing something for somebody or doing something for a cause you believe in, then you have to leave your ego at home, just focus on the job and get it done. So, for you, it must have been difficult.
Absolutely right. And for us, it was even harder because किसी को IDD समझ में नहीं आता था. So when you don't understand a space, it's not on your radar to fund. Yes. If I had said I work with a child who's visually impaired, you get a visual of a child with dark glasses and a white.
Yes.
When I say IDD,
what is this? Yeah, intellectually challenged.
I would love to know what is the image that 200 people are getting. Nobody's getting an image.
So because usually we classify them as mad.
Pagal
as
is
mad.
Yes. See, that's the whole point. Sudha, you're so right. It's a negative word that is there
completely. It takes everything away from their existence. They're just one big block of mad.
And society as a whole is going through life pretending like they don't exist.
They don't exist.
So our biggest challenge today is putting our kids out there, introducing them to society, equipping them to be part of society, but also telling society, hey, let's include them in everything that we do. So, actually one of the things that came to my mind as a message that we should put out when we're talking to each other also is not just to each of us saying, be authentic, be you, and put yourself out there, but equally powerful is the message that when you're listening to somebody else, be accepting of them.
Yes.
Because we're so quick in our head to be judgmental. I think just having that lens of empathy
makes all the difference.
It's as important as putting yourself out there. So yes, be vulnerable, put yourself out there, be true to yourself, but hey, be as accepting of the other people who are doing that.
Thank you very much. That was very, very important for, I think, especially for youngsters who, all of us, of course, but especially youngsters, because we live in a world where technology and social media and all of that have enveloped our lives in such a way that we only believe in what social media is telling us. You don't know reality, the little dark realities of life. So it was very important for you to, till the age of 50, I lived without any reasonable familiarity with the world of people with disabilities. And then just before I hit, when I was 48, I wrote a book called Gifted, which was, the stories of people with disability from across the spectrum, all sorts of disabilities. And when I was writing it, I think writing that book kind of transformed my life, because I came in contact with this section of society who are unseen. They're on the fringes. We pretend they're not there. You said that 1 in 50, and that why don't we see them? We don't see them because we choose not to see them. And society has made it, our society has kept it that way. What we don't see, we don't care about. But writing Gifted changed my life. Now when everybody talks about authenticity, I want to say authenticity is also being kind and compassionate and empathetic, and believing that the world is not just about you. It's about everybody. It's not just your authenticity, but everybody's partnership in this universe. So thank you so much for sharing that, Archana. It was very important. Now, Anuranjita, I want to hear your story about you you are now steering. It's not an experiment. It's a platform which will give voice to so many women who sort of drop off somewhere because of the way society has put the burden of responsibilities on a woman. So you are going through which you are going to change their lives. You have taken it upon yourself. So what are those things that have kept you on this path? It is sort of uncharted territory. Again, there are bodies like NASCOM and all of that. Once every year we all talk about that thing, and after that we forget about the women in technology. What is it that keeps you going there in what is probably a tough space to be?
So thank you, Sudha. I think, let me clarify, I have no technology background.
I know.
So think about it, I've jumped into something which I have no idea of. And I think for me, the push came from because I have a more investment banking background, which is no different than high-end technology space to be in. And I have, delirious moments where I've walked into a boardroom where I have only seen, sometimes when I was in London or New York, white men wearing black and gray suit. And it's a very scary moment because you feel completely like a fish out of water. And, you look different, you're brown, you speak differently, your accent is different. So I think for me, when I was kind of thinking about which space, banking, I know, and I think that's for a later point of time. When we gauged the number, we did a lot of research. What we found was that, everything we talk about in terms of future world, you talked about social media, Netflix, look at your phones, amount of time we're spending on Zoom lately, all is driven by STEM, right? But the number of women in STEM is a minuscule. It's the lowest amongst all the sectors that you can think of. I mean, just to give you some stats, India has made a lot of progress in the education space for women. So we actually do have about 32% women in STEM when they're passing out of college. And STEM, I'm not just saying engineering, I'm also saying maths and science and all of that, right? So actually our feeder pipeline is not so bad. Then what happens is when they join the organized sector, a lot of them either go into slightly marginalized role, partly sometimes because of their own choice, partly because of organization designs. So as a result, at mid to senior level, we see 9% relative to any other sector, which is 18 to 20%. And at the CXO level or CEO levels, we see about less than 1%. Other sectors are not very far behind. I mean, they're 3 to 4%. But what got me thinking is if this is the future, which we are going to be in, then where is the space for women rightfully in that future? So I did a lot of research. I spent 3 months researching this. And what I found was that actually the problem was twofold. A lot of women don't want to do it because they feel, especially engineering or tech, we did focus groups like, when you think of technology, what do you think? And, the metaphors were like steam engine, black steam engine. Now, women don't like to be looking like a steam engine, or they wanted to be, most of them only want to do digital marketing or fintech. So there's a huge plethora of research, which is for another time. But what we found that the aspiration for being in technology was low. And so most of them, you would go in coders and they stay there for a lifetime. So that prompted me to jump into this space. All I can tell you for a lot of girls out here is that you may graduate out of school or college, but you never stop learning. So believe you me, when I started with, for 3 months, every night, I would sit and do free courses on Coursera or on Great Learnings or on edX to understand ye hota kya hai. What is cloud and what is this big thing about AI, ML. And when I started scraping the surface, I found it was actually quite intuitive and quite easy. I mean, I'm a Netflix junkie for whatever it matters. So I watched something called Black Mirror. So those of you who don't watch it, watch it. It's very good. But I learned a lot from, wherever I could pick these nuggets, I did. And today, when I look back, I mean, we have about 100 corporates working with us. We have over 100,000 women in STEM who are with us. And we are kind of, in tech terms, for those of you who are familiar, we are full stack. So we do the whole engagement, pulling them in, changing their mindsets, training them, and then deploying them. And like, I think Archana was talking about fundraise. So, soon my money kind of ran out because I was bootstrapped. Okay. So I had to go out for a fundraise. And every time I talked about women's space, it was assumed I was a non-profit. So I'm a little rebellious. So I said, no, we are for profit. Why should I have this bichari tag associated with my venture and with me? Why do I have to be a non-profit just because I am trying to impact a social impact space? But I didn't know what I signed up for. So I declared we are a for-profit, but we will work in an impact space. And when I went for a fundraise, and a lot of you can empathize with this, every VC wanted to know what my IRR was, what my stop line was, how will I become $100 million company? Otherwise, nobody's willing to put in money.
I read something very interesting the other day. It said that people of color and women set up ventures of their own with 1/4 of what a man who would want to sell the same idea gets for his idea. So, and I think that is very, very true, because I, as a woman journalist for almost 3 decades, that is what I found. Anytime a woman wants to start something, there are all these things that she has to answer. And when it's a man who's in a suit and tie, he just gets it because he's a man. And I'm not being a shrieking feminist here, but that's what I've seen, that women have to oversell their idea 100 times more than a man to just get 1/4 of that money. So, I get you when you say that.
Sudha, it was scary, but you know what? We're done with our fundraise in flat 8 weeks. We got it. But the first start when I went in, it almost felt like you're selling a piece of yourself. And, there were big guys, and unfortunately, there are more men on the other side because there are very few women who are in the venture capital space. But the good thing, for whatever it matters, is it's those men who've come and funded us now, right? So we did complete our fundraise. And in fact, it's just, since it's very topical, and, I just want to say tomorrow we're running a skilling summit, which, most of you are welcome, all of you are welcome to attend. We have men only sessions and it's oversubscribed. We actually have a session, how to talk to women. Don't be afraid of act. They're oversubscribed. But yeah, fundraise was, I learned so much. I learned legal, I learned finance, I learned accounting, I learned how to sell my idea. It was a completely different skill set. And going back to what Nija and Archana said, completely out of my comfort zone. I had no idea what I had signed up for. But today I am glad that people have taken a bet on us, but that then multiplies the responsibility on us as a founder to make sure it works. So I think for me, this is now beginning to come together, and next year is a lot of hard work, to be honest.
There was something also that I wanted to kind of share, so that, women, all the people who are listening in, one of the things that I do is go to corporate houses where they invite me to talk about my experiences working with very accomplished women from different sectors and what they do that we can all learn from. So at one of the sessions at one of India's top tech companies, after my session, there was this young girl who came to me. She seemed like new. She said, "Ma'am, I'm newly married," and she says, "I'm up for a promotion, but I discovered last week that I'm pregnant. So should I disclose this or not, because I'm coming up for assessment?" And she says, "Ma'am, I know for sure that if I tell them that I'm pregnant, I can kiss goodbye to that promotion." So this is the reality. As somebody who headed HR for Citigroup, and now somebody who's trying to do exactly, I think, the opposite of what you were doing there. Now you're giving a platform to all those women who probably fell off the radar. This is the reality of women, I think, across the world. In many places we admit it, in many countries we don't, but this is how it is. An author friend of mine put it very creatively last week to me, saying that employers treat a woman's uterus as a time bomb. It might go off any moment, and nobody wants to take a chance with that. So, that is what we are all up against here. So all of us need to put our heads together to tell employers that it is nature. It has nothing to do, it is biology, and it's not just the woman who's responsible. And can we please find a way around that kind of thing? Okay, so now I'll come back to all three of you. And this time the question is about, there are countless books written about how to be successful and how to be fulfilled. And we say we have done this and we do this. These are the best practices. But I somehow have learned that the hardest knock you take in life is what teaches you the most. Your weakest link, your weakest point in your life is what teaches you the most. So what is the role that failure has played in your life? So if all of you can take turns to talk about, have you learned from failure? Have there been phases in your life where, you thought that this is it, I'm done. And how am I going to save myself from this? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
And we keep it. Yeah.
I'll make it brief. I still have to catch up with the other two who got an extra time to talk. Now, this is especially for all the Shalinis. Remember that the other three are heading places, they're dealing with a lot of people. Here, it is the opposite. It is I. And I am making an impact on thousands and millions of people. How? Because my failures or my tragedies, my cancer twice, my septicemia has taught me lessons which I am grateful for, because that is what I bring to the people that I counsel with. So with these people, whether they're patients or whether they're patients' families, there is a heart-to-heart connect, vibrations, dil se, straight from the heart. And I don't have to think twice, because the rapport is instant. When they say, do you understand? And I say, yes, I've gone through cancer twice. I understand. I know what you're going through. I know what your family is going through. I understand. I've been there, done that, worn the moccasins. And do you know what helps, Sudha? The fact that I can look them in the eye and end my statement lovingly and say that if I can do it, so can you. And that is what changes the perception in a person suffering from cancer or from anything. You don't have to suffer from cancer. You can suffer from a broken bone, a financial loss. If you remember God, Guru, family, friends, yourself, faith in all these, and mostly in yourself. And the things to remember, which I'm going to give you in 2 seconds, is love, fun and laughter, God, faith. If you have faith, there are miracles. If there are miracles, you remember to be grateful. Gratitude gives you abundance. Abundance makes you live in the now. And girls, remember, these are the things that take you on in life. Yes, compassion, loving, caring, connection. And if you are yourself and you do it lovingly, it goes across to them and you can change the world. Without meaning to, you can impact the world and you can change lives, touch lives, and move on.
Thank you, Nija. Thank you very much. Archana.
It is a tough act to follow. But I think I already briefly touched upon the point when I was at the lowest, and how actually, if that had not happened, I genuinely wouldn't be the person I am today. Having said that, again, I agree completely with you that you have to constantly push yourselves, right? So I'll give you another example. Even within Jaivakil, I am as introvert a person as they come. So I completely relate to you. If I had a choice, I would spend my life as a wallflower. I do not want to do any front-facing conversations, right? So for me, this is, I cannot even begin to tell you how much of an outside my comfort zone space, right? So this fundraising, all of these are just, I mean, in school I used to win morals and good conduct prize क्योंकि मैं किसी के साथ बात ही नहीं करती थी. So coming from there, we spent at Jaivakil the first 4 years putting our heads down and getting our house in order. I was so happy. क्या बढ़िया काम है, नीचे देखो, काम करो, किसी से बात नहीं करनी, थोड़ा ऊपर देख के fundraising करो, वो चलता था, right? Because we were putting our children at the front and center of everything. Then in 2018, people said, boss, अगर आप बोल रहे हो कि आपकी problem है lack of awareness, why the hell are you not talking about it? So I said, I cannot. I couldn't. I genuinely could not public speak. That was my reality. Believe me, I had to get a life coach. And I sat in front of her and I said, I can't. I struggle. I know what I want to say. I'm unable to say it. She was lovely. We went through a whole kyun, kaise, blah, 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 blah. Long story, short. Usne bola, there are two parts to you. There's you, the personal Archana, who likes to do, wants to do, you know, wallflower, ye, wo, falana, dingra. And the other reality is I'm married to a person who's a complete extrovert. So I used to love to bask in his glory. I said, you be the front end, I'm the back end. So I was very comfortable in that space and role. So she said, there's you, Archana, who's very comfortable in this. And there's the CEO of Jaivakil, who needs to be external facing to talk about your challenges and to spread awareness if you're saying that's your biggest challenge. And if as a CEO, you're not willing to do that, then please step aside because you're doing the organization a disservice. Kya jhatka mila, no? Because it was like, what are you saying? I'm so passionate about this space. I've spent so many years understanding, oh my God, my children, you know, it was one of those, what are you saying? Leave my space, leave my cause. I said, all right, I'll do it. Now, will you help me in the how? And she said, yes, do what you need to do, but do it in a way that is true to yourself. So don't try and become this person who's going to go on stage and do this whole drama and dance and jig and yay and oh, you will look fake. Do it in a way where you call out and say, I'm uncomfortable. This is not me. It's all about the child. It's all about the cause. I am merely an instrument to tell you their story. So that's how I learned to do what I do. And that's why I do what I do. So constantly push yourself.
Lovely. Anuranjita.
So for me, my lowest moment was about 12 years back when I was in London. I had a lung collapse. So Nija, I can much relate with you. And my family was told 24 hours. So I fought and I fought back. And as you can see, it's not my ghost sitting here. So I'm very much fine. And I think when you go through that moment, it makes you tenacious and it makes you resilient. Nothing else hurts anymore because, you know, when you know, and I think I was very much in my senses when that verdict was out and I was going through a scan, and I've kind of talked about it in my book as well, Sudha. And, you know, when the physician told me, close your eyes because the whole body scan was happening to check for septicemia, Nirja, because they thought my organs were failing. And when I closed my eyes, I only could see my 2 children. Because they were all of 4 and 10 then. And my husband has never forgiven me for that. But the point was, there was something about that moment which I believe brought me back. But it also told me that nothing is more valuable than your life. So, you know, it is very important, as they say, YOLO, you live only once. So live your life the way, don't live somebody else's life. So I won't say it was my failure, but it was the lowest moment that I have gone through in life. And so anything happens at work or otherwise, it just doesn't really bother me anymore. And as they say, you know, fear kills more dreams since you started with dreams than failure ever will. So there is never a failure. There's just a way of turning around and moving into a different direction.
So somebody just asked, last month somebody was interviewing me for something, and, you know, I was asked this question. So what are those things that you have really learned in the last 30, 35 years? Since you were, you know, young woman and living life on the fast track, but then you slow down, you begin to see what is really important. And I said, biggest realization is that life is so short. You have just this one life, and we all do that, become a rat in the rat race, and bigger bylines, more books to write, more milestones in your life. But then 6 years ago, I lost my father, and it just happened in 5 weeks. He was gone, and then you realize, then I realized that I had not attended his last birthday party because I was too busy putting up one of these sessions. And there's so many things, like it might seem cliched, but it is important to bond with your parents, make time for your children, read a good book, walk in the park, all of those things that we think we will do when we retire. But we are not, the world we live in doesn't allow us to retire. We are constantly doing something else. But yes, now it is like, value your time, value your life a little bit more, value yourself a little bit more, and make friendships, sisterhood, all of that is so important. So for all the young people, listening to this, I know all of them want to become, successful and accomplished, but it is still early days for them. They can learn these lessons that we learned the hard way, and that, you don't need to learn these lessons at 50 plus. You can learn it now, that you can have all of that, but also have your relationships and your, do something for yourself that enriches your soul and nourishes your soul. All of that also. So I think we are running out of time. So very quickly, if all three of you can just tell us about the two most important things that you think is important for a young woman to know, for anybody to know and practice. Those two things, two values or principles or whatever, that are really important to you and that has worked for you.
Be authentic, be you. I think that's the session.
Archana.
Anu got it absolutely right. I think not even Anu, the whole Udayan care team got it.
The summit.
Right.
Yes.
Got it right. If I have to just take that to another level, I would just say, don't ever, in this quest to be authentic.
Successful.
Yeah, to be successful, be authentic, be you, don't ever lie. Because I have found it always catches up, right? Don't be afraid to show your vulnerability. It only helps you connect with others. So it's fine. Look at us on this panel, right? When we all started, I have to admit, when we were introducing all the panelists, I was like, sabne kitab likhi hui hai idhar, main hi aisi baiti hui, right? It didn't matter because everybody was so real, so warm, so human. So, and that came through because everybody put their vulnerabilities out. So it is the minute you put your vulnerabilities out there, you're able to connect on a human level. Nothing else matters. So, yeah.
Thanks.
To me, happiness. I think being successful is being able to live in harmony and peace with yourself, be able to be happy, make others happy, and sleep well at night. And I just want to tell you, my favorite mantras are God is great and this too shall pass. That book that I've written has those 10 treasures and it's called I Inspire. But the fact of the matter is that we keep learning. And the fact of the matter is that we just spread love between all of us. And the fact of the matter is that we've done a wonderful job today, and blessings to each and every Shalini. Because each and every Shalini, I want to tell you one thing, that you are here because of the spark in your life. You are here because you believe in yourself. Otherwise, you would not be here, 200 of you listening in. So just remember to appreciate. Remember to be grateful for this. Remember that Kiran has literally worked her butt off to get everything organized from 94 to here. That's a lot of doing. And I know because 23 years of my life, I have dedicated to cancer patients, to making them feel better, and to making them get out of a space of sadness and misery, change their perception, and live to the fullest. That is all that I can say. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Neha, can we have you back
I'm
here?
here. It's not the, yeah, Sudha, I'm here.
Yeah.
This was lovely session. I would like to thank all the inspirational speakers. We have so many questions coming in on YouTube and through our Shalini's. But in the interest of time, I'll just take one question. Our Shalini Sneha from Badi has asked, and this question is to Ms. Archana. Economic Times reported that you and your husband donate a part of your income right from the time you got married. How did both of you agree on that? And were there any conflict among you both for the same? And if yes, how did you tackle it?
Oh, wow. How did you get to that part?
The power of Google.
Power of Google. That's actually a very interesting story. It's a long story. I'll try and make it short and sweet. So yes, Amit and I, when we got married, we actually had no money, right? And to the extent we were living as paying guests. But we decided very early on that we would give a small part of whatever we made to charity, because we both believed in, in doing something.
Band chakko.
That's right. That's Guru Nanak's teaching. So we would do that, and over the years, that number grew. And I don't mean to philosophize, but whatever you girls do, 10% is a number that I would strongly recommend for all of you to put aside and give from your income. The sooner you start, the better it is. And Amit and I are living proof of this as well, right? It's Guru Nanak's teachings. It's part of the teachings of the school, the spiritual school that I follow, and it works. So 10% is what we used to give early on. Over the years, the number grew because our income grew. And at some point in our life, so there was no conflict at that time because the number was so small, it didn't really but over the years, when the number started growing, yes, there were some interesting dinner table conversations because I was of the belief that at some point we should put a house over our head because we were perpetually moving houses. So I was like, yes,
changing houses,
yeah, we would keep giving away. I had no problem with giving, but Amit wanted to up. Yeah. So there were interesting dinner table conversations where I was like, let's please put a roof over our head, etc., etc. So there was this constant, kitna dena hai, kaise dena hai, ghar kaise banana hai, loan nahi lena hai, because then, Amit was like, I will never take a loan. And by that time I had switched to the social sector. So my salary was not worth talking about, whatever. At some point, we also decided to put a cap on our spending. And this is the story where actually Sudha comes in. And we said that we will define our needs. And, because it's very easy. Today you have one house, tomorrow you buy a second house. Today you have one car, tomorrow you want a bigger car, you want a better car, you want a fancier car, you want a fancier second house, third house, holiday house, different city house, etc. So we decided to cap our spending, and whatever we made over and above that amount, we decided to give away. So that was the most interesting conversation actually in our lives, because it's one thing to say we'll cap our spending, but it's very, very hard to actually make an Excel spreadsheet and put all the numbers in it. But it was an exercise that we, again, put ourselves to the task and did. So
I would just like to step in here, Archana. One of the main pillars of Udayan Shalini Fellowship is that the girls are taught to give back from the day one they join this program. So this 5 years journey, everyone has to do 50 hours of social work. And by the time they move out, it is expected that it gets ingrained. And in the COVID times, how many of our girls have given, and our MC here, she is one of the biggest donors.
How lovely. How lovely. I think, honestly, so a few days ago, I was listening to a fundraising program that was done by this organization called Khaki Tours. I will see if I will talk to you all separately. It was about inspirational women stories. And when Anu was sharing her story about how she had to work so hard to get money for her organization and not be this bicharu NGO, but be a for-profit organization, that man was telling us inspirational stories about Indian women in our country who have worked so hard to give us some of the rights and freedoms that we currently enjoy and take so for granted. Right? And about how this woman in this Raut bungalow close by had to fight for women all over the world not getting married before 18. And this was done by a woman in India, in South Mumbai, and none of us know about it. So actually, it's platforms like this that need to be had more of, where voices and stories like these need to be told. And literally more power to all of the Shalinis and to all of these platforms. I really think they are the ones that need to be the mentors for more women's stories out there.
Thank you so much. We would like our Shalinis and our viewers to share your love through your emojis. We can see your emojis coming on YouTube and in Zoom chat. So continue that. And I would take a moment to thank our inspirational speakers for such a wonderful and touching session. It was quite an engaging conversation. And वो बोलते हैं ना कि सुनना तो हम चाहते हैं, बट समा ऐसे ही बना रहे, बट समय की कमी हो जाती है. It was quite an engaging conversation and a great learning for us, for our Shalinis, and I'm sure for our viewers as well. Thank you for giving us your precious time and sharing some of the great learnings that we shall cherish for our life.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now we would like to invite our very own advisory board member and convener of USF Mumbai chapter, Ms. Pooja Mehra, to express vote of thanks. Pooja has been associated with Udayan Care as a volunteer since 2002. She started by supporting Udayan Care through various capacity building initiatives to help strengthen their policies and processes. She believes that the children and women of India have a right to meaningful education and should be empowered to achieve more out of their lives. With this belief, she decided to bring USF program to Mumbai in 2016. Professionally, Pooja has spent over 20 years in corporate world, working with EY, FICO, and Rio Tinto as a human resources professional. During her corporate career, she has worked in global strategic roles with a forte in redesigning and creating new systems and processes in line with business needs, and that we all can see how well this entire event was organized and planned. She's an avid yoga practitioner, a potter, and her zeal for adventure is fulfilled by her periodic mountain treks. So let's put our hands and hearts together and click on emojis icons to express our love and appreciation for Pooja. Over to you, Pooja.
Thank you so much, Smita. You've been such a star. I don't know what to say after this. So on this special occasion of our second summit of Celebrating Change, I can't believe it's actually coming to an end after putting there are 230 people who've actually put in time and effort to organize this, and we're actually calling it, this is it. Wow. Yeah, it's an honor and a matter of pride for me to extend a vote of thanks on behalf of everybody at Udayan Care and all who are associated with organizing this event. I actually want to start by thanking people from yesterday because that was day one. So I'm going to start with thanking Dia Mirza and Raga Olka D'Souza for such an inspirational session and sharing your journey with us. They are talking about how we need to open our hearts to discover who we are. And Raga telling us to be bold, to not fit into somebody else's shoes. Raga, I'm going to throw my red shoes out now. And the breakout speakers, Ashna Sangani, Parekh, Astha Atre, Amisha Prabhu, Amrita Das, Gargi Das Gupta, Jinal Shah, Kalpana Unatkat, Manu Narang Vadva, Meera Chadda Burvankar, Preeti Rathi Gupta for an engaging session with our Shalinis. I'm sure that you got to learn a lot from, they got to learn a lot from your experience. And I know you were talking about how inspired you were with them. We all are, and I think that's what keeps us going. But we would love to stay in touch with all of you to keep the engagement going. So this is not the end. This is just the beginning of the story. And of course, our panelists from today, Archana Chandra, Anuranjita Kumar, Nija Malik, and Sudha Menon, thank you so much. It was such a thought-provoking discussion. It was so interesting. There is so much that we've taken away from this session. From just being, not just being you and being authentic, but also being inclusive and having empathy and living in free spirit. I think it's amazing. Thank you so much. We have to stay in touch with you. This is not the end of it. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, we have a token of our appreciation, which we will be sending to all our speakers. So to please share your postal address with us. Madhu, can you put it up, please? So this is a small diary that will be coming your way, and we hope you find it useful and you use it. And it reminds you every time that you're being you and authenticity is challenged, that you will go back to it. So thank you for that. Okay, but we have a lot more thank yous to go. I would like to thank our audience on YouTube for sharing your thoughts with us, sharing your love through your comments. I have to tell you, we have about over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube finally in Udayan Care. And thank you so much for being there and loving us. Now you'll get to know what's happening in Udayan Care. And we would love to have a lot more subscribers going forward. We also want to thank our Shalinis for showing your keenness to learn and engaging with the speakers and asking such interesting questions that we all got to learn from. And of course, my organizing team of this event, which comprises of primarily volunteers. Can you believe it's primarily volunteers? Of course, there are a lot of people, but there are a lot of volunteers. Sudhaji from Aurangabad, Manisha and Deepthi from Mumbai chapter, Sapna from Chennai chapter, Ela from Greater Noida, Shivani Devecha from Story Brewer for stitching the whole thing together, Meera Sani, our trustee, for helping us get such wonderful speakers for this event. I think, Meera, your network really rocks. Our MCs, Smita, Neha, for keeping the energy going in the whole show and putting in days and nights to practice for it. You've really put in so much time. You are our stars. Madhu and Deepthi for the technology support. Thank you for putting in so much time. Jasmine for designing the marketing material. Who is the backbone? Okay. Am I not visible? I can suddenly see somebody else on the screen.
You are visible.
You are back.
Okay, I'm back?
Yeah.
Did you miss me?
Just for a fraction of a second.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So, should I go back? Till where did you...
Continue, please.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so Madhu and Deepthi for the technology support, Jasmine for designing the marketing material, Fahim, who is the backbone of USF and has been the pillar for the show, and his whole USF team of coordinators. You have put in so many days and nights getting this together. And our Udayan Care communications team for this eye-catching logo that you see there, be you, be authentic, that's them. And all the social media support that has come in. Shalini, we've been troubling you through night and day, and you've been pretty much working 24/7. Thank you for doing that. And of course, our very own Kiranji for being a source of inspiration for all of us to do what we're doing for Udayan Care. Thank you so much. This couldn't have been done. This is your dream that we're trying to put into reality. Well, and it's also, this event was on a weekend, which is precious to everybody because everybody kind of is working through the weekdays. And as our speakers on the panel said that, you need to spend time with family, and weekends is when you end up doing that. Yet you've all given us so much of your time and support and love and encouragement through this event. So thank you for believing in our cause and being there for us and sharing all your love and support. Thank you so much. I would like to end this with a quote from Rumi for our audience and Shalini's. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. So believe in yourself and be authentic, be yourself. But before you go, we'd like our viewers to know that the dream of Kiranji is now flowering into the form of an active alumni forum. So our Udayan Shalinis, the alumni, are adopting some very interesting new practices to strengthen the dream of developing a big Shalini Sena. So we recently launched an initiative called Shalini Talks. And I would like to invite Kanchan, who's an alumni from the 2004 batch, to tell us more about Shalini Talks, its aim and its vision. So over to you, Kanchan.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you so much. I've been attending this session for the last 2 days, and I just can say it's so enriching, and perhaps I really need to reflect on it properly, because there's so much thought which has gone into my mind while listening to Diya, Raga, Archana, Sudha ji, like so much. I think it's really going to take some time for me to at least reflect on it and how I want to take it forward in my own journey. So thanks for inviting me and to share the the opportunity to share what Shalini Talks is and how it really links, or how it can become part of our lives actually. So let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes, Kanchan, it's up.
Okay, great. All right, so I think let me just very quickly. I think to start with, right, I wanted to start with like what exactly is Shalini Talks, and it's in the incubation stage, because we founded last year along with Ricky and Kiran ma'am, and we did our first conference in December, and the second one happened in February. But I still keep on reflecting like what exactly it is and why does it matter. So when I was reflecting yesterday to prepare for this talk, I think two thoughts come into my mind, that it's definitely it brings power stories from the journey of people like who have really broken the barriers, faced a lot of challenges, but kind of surpassed all those constraints and kind of from this tribe of women which we all belong to, or which we always belong to, where we had challenges and we kind of conquered those challenges, right? So essentially these stories again instill a wave of self-belief, a spirit to conquer and not settle for any less. So that was my one thought which I could put, that what exactly it is. Or alternatively, I like to define this as inspiration capital. Essentially the wealth of stimulus which we all need on a regular basis to keep up, to stretch ourselves today and beyond. So that's how I define Shalini Talks as a power story, or as an inspirational capital. Now, before I actually go into that why we need it, right? And that's where I think I just want to provoke a thought here. It's a very simple graph, right? You can see that there is a 0% and 100%. And then there is a line which is 90%. Right now, the women, if we see in India, and I think we were hearing one of our speakers as well, I was just going through again some stats that in India today, only 10% of women are in the leadership cohort. And when I say leadership cohort, I do refer to CXO cohort. I do refer to in politics, right? How many ministerial candidates we have, or I do refer to managerial or strategy cohort, the cohort which actually makes decision either for the economy or in the administration space or the constitutional changes, and like really things which matter, right? And that's where I think we just have 10% of women, and 90% are below the line, which I call at least as follower cohort, right? So it's really a time for us to reflect, where do we stand in this cohort, right? Are we in the follower cohort or are we in the leader cohort? I think that's, to me, I think was a starter to really see, even for myself, like, where do I position myself? And I would want to say that when we start our journeys, we do start from a follower cohort, because yes, we are not the first human on the planet, right? So there's already a 7 billion humans coexisting with us, and we are not the first. So definitely we start from the follower cohort. But how do we push ourselves and be in that leader cohort is was the thought which kind of I started with. And if we imagine, or if we want to imagine even an equal world of tomorrow, we definitely need to make this line from 90% towards the 50%. And I think that can only happen when more and more followers are pushed to the leader cohort from the women. So that's I think I just wanted to provoke you guys with all the Shalinis, because I think it really requires to think and reflect, like, how would you want to design your life which is coming ahead, right? So that's there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope. Can people go on mute? Okay, all right. Yeah, so with that thought, why Shalini Talks matters to you, right? And I'm talking to all of you right now, on this slide, right? It's not just only for Shalinis, but even for coordinators, even for chapter leaders, even for Udayan Care, or anyone who's listening to me at the moment, right? If we want to push ourselves to a leadership cohort, I believe we need three things. One is we have to transition from a casual individual to a reflective individual, someone who reflects on a periodic basis, someone who takes a pause and reflects and tries to again evolve, course correct, because as many of our speakers also said, that dreams or ideas or imaginations or even aspirations, they continue to evolve. But do we take life which comes as is to us, or we want to adopt reflection as a continuous process of life? And this is very important if we want to be leading in this space for tomorrow. So I do encourage and I do urge each of one to become from a casual individual to a reflective individual. And don't lose this as a process, because I've seen in my life, even I also lost this kind of a practice for sometimes for a few years. The second thing, I guess, is very important if we aspire to be in that leadership cohort. Co-leadership, practicing co-leadership. And this is important because it's a given that we are going to be in the world which has male leaders, right? Which has leaders, let's say, from a superior race, if we look at a more global perspective. So we need to develop this practice of co-leadership, right? And the third is, I think, build your thought legacy now, right? Why do we really need to wait for when we become 50 or when we become 55 or when I have 30 years of experience? Why do we really need to wait for that? I think we all need to take this as building our thought legacy now. And this is what I think Shalini Talks aims to really bring as a process. When you work with us, you build your narrative. There is a process wherein you go through deep reflection on your life, and which is essentially, of course, in retrospective, but also as a future visionary. So that's, I think, one part which we have embedded in the process. The second is co-leadership, as I talked about. When you work with your mentors, when you work with the Shalini Talks team, there is a necessary element of co-leadership which we have imbibed in. And lastly, I think we do give a very specific focus. Then what is the thought legacy you're bringing in for the aspirants? And lastly, I think I just want to say that, so next what, right? So if I have communicated why we have Shalini Talks, do identify your mentor, build your narrative, right? And deliver your legacy with us at Shalini Talks. So this is my key message for today. Just very quickly, I think what we have been able to do so far, we have been able to do 2 conferences. We have delivered our vision and 5 stories by now from the Shalini's. And our next conference is upcoming on 4th April, so do join us. Our speakers are going to be Sapna Mittal, Neha Singhal, and Archana Tiwari for 4th April. So do block your calendars and time to listen into them. And very quickly, I wanted to share my team as well, who's behind this whole purpose and cause. So we have Dimpika as our CEO. She's a Shalini from batch 9. She's a journalist, and she has taken up this role to deliver and lead Shalini Talks as a program CEO. Our founding team has Neha Singhal. I have not seen any person of that resolute so far in my life, so I call her the resolute. Manorama Yadav, she's I think a barrier breaker. You should go through Manorama's story and you will know what I'm talking about. Unconventional Ritika Sharma, who actually changed her path from in academics to really into an art practitioner. Her story is also out, so please go and watch it. Empathy leader Darshana Joshi. I don't think Darshana requires any introduction in this set of people. Ricky, our super mentor Ricky, and badass me. So with that, I think I do encourage each of you to join us and build your legacy with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kanchan, and we wish you all the best with Shalini Talks. And I'm sure this initiative is going to see many, many more accomplishments and stories. So viewers, how are you liking the session so far? Are you feeling excited to begin something new as a takeaway from this session? Please share with us what you liked most throughout this summit in the comment box and in the chat box. Girls, you also please do share in the Zoom chat box what you liked most. With this, we come to the end of our inspiring and wonderful 2-day summit of celebrating change. We hope you are going back with learnings and memories that will stay with you and help you to be authentic and be you. Thank you for being such a patient and lovely audience and encouraging us and our Shalinis in 2-day summit. The earth is so round. Sometimes the place that seems to be an end can also be the beginning. With this, we look forward to bringing to you more inspiring and more successful stories in our next summit. Till then, wish you all the very best and hope that we'll live up to becoming our authentic self. We will be uploading our breakout session recordings on our channel very soon. So please do subscribe so that you get the alert of the upload in your account. Thank you. Namaste. Tata. Bye.